And welcome back to the Ask Coach Trista show alongside Trista Francis. I'm Dave Erickson. Today is about cycling and about heart rate. Is heart rate critical when training cyclists with Power Coach? Never thought about that one.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, thanks, Dave. A good portion of the athletes that I coach are cyclists. So this is obviously pertaining to pure cyclists. I've been coaching with Power since 2007. So really learning and understanding the ins and outs of Power is critical as either an athlete or as a coach. Some people just like to buy the gadget and look at the numbers go up. That's a pricey gadget, but that's cool too, right? But if you really have a coach that truly understands Power, it can really make a huge difference in your gains and in your training. Reflecting back, probably my biggest gain that I've had with a cyclist was when he came to me, had an FTP of 270, and then his power to weight ratio was 3.7. In less than 3 years, we got him to a FTP of almost 160 watt gain. He was up to 430 with an FTP of 5.5. So that's the good news, right? So initially when I started coaching with Power, it was no, you defer to heart rate, you defer to Power, you don't use heart rate. You always defer to watts. And over time, as I have coached athletes, I have learned that heart rate can be an amazing tool to bridge that gap in workouts. So basically how you do that is you make sure that you have an accurate functional threshold power and lactate threshold heart rate set. And once you have those zones to work in, then what I do is I set up workouts throughout the week for a cyclist, which involve heart rate training as well as power training. So some days they're going to be focusing on numbers as far as watts, and other days they're going to be focusing more on heart rate. And the key with cyclists is to really make sure that you're giving, or with any athlete, is to make sure you're giving them a correct stimulus. Now with cyclists, you can really overload them. It's different than a runner. It's different than a multi-sport athlete. You can really overload them. You can give them back-to-back quality sessions. Their recovery blocks can be much shorter. And that's a huge benefit with cyclists. And lastly, what you need to do is you need to be able to follow both the heart rate and power closely when it comes to reading files. And then you can see when gains have truly been made. If you're not watching both of those kind of simultaneously, what happens is I think we get into this habit of, okay, it's the beginning of the season, let's test your FTP, let's see where it's at. And then you might do it 6 months later. Well, with some of my cyclists, I see gains within 2 months. And if they're training within a certain, their tempo is 270 to 310, and that's the zone, you're really actually holding that athlete back if they've actually blown out of those zones and you're not aware of it, because coach says go out, do 30 minutes in zone 3, and this is my zone 3. So if you're not watching how heart rate correlates to those power numbers, you probably are not accelerating the athlete as quickly as you can, and you're really holding back that potential. I just recently had a client that started with me about 6 weeks ago, and this past week I saw 2 workouts that indicated to me that we could have already had power gains. And it was at the end of a 3-week build. He could have been tired, his heart rate could have been lagging a little bit because of fatigue. And so this week I've got him into recovery, but next week I've got a key workout set specifically. He doesn't necessarily know about it, but I have a key workout set specifically to kind of validate what I'm seeing. He'll be fresh, he'll be in the first week of another build cycle, and see if I still see a low heart rate correlating with higher power numbers. And if so, boom, that's magic right there. And we want to be able to then reset his zones, whether we retest him or we or sometimes I just manipulate those based off of the information. And then we've got him training now at a greater effort and putting out greater watts on the bike, and we can continue to progress him.
So as a coach, you really need that heart rate data to help this athlete be as efficient as possible. That's the complement to it.
I absolutely. The data is critical. Like I said, if you're just looking at power numbers, if an athlete has, say he's riding at the top of his zone 3 or low zone 4 power, and you're thinking, oh my gosh, he's getting stronger. Well, is he getting stronger, or is he just riding too hard and he's not he's not doing the workout as prescribed? Whereas, when you have the heart rate data to compare to, that gives you a really, it gives you more information. I mean, we all know that heart rate is variable as well. It won't elevate if you're, it will go high if you're dehydrated. It won't elevate if you're fatigued. But if you read those files over time, you can absolutely start noticing differences in trends.
So definitely use those in conjunction. If let's say if you don't have one of them, what is the one that you can do without?
Oh gosh.
Put you on the spot. If you had to choose between power or heart rate, what would you choose as an athlete?
As an athlete.
Yeah.
Well, since power is such an expensive tool, most people can afford heart rate. Mm-hmm. And so if somebody has power, they typically have heart rate. However, I would probably do power and RPE, rate of perceived exertion. I would use those two methods just because power is very concrete. It measures the amount of pressure on the pedals. It doesn't matter if it's windy. It doesn't matter if you're going downhill, whereas a heart rate file isn't going to really show you the ins and outs of that ride like a power file would.
Yeah, too many variables with heart rate, isn't it?
Yeah.
All right. Hey, if you've got a question for Trista when it comes to cycling, she is the one in the know. Use the hashtag AskCoachTrista on Facebook, Twitter, or YouTube, and we will showcase it on an upcoming episode. Thanks a lot very much, Coach.
Yeah, talk to you later, Dave.